I've been using a foldable phone for a year, and this is what I've learned. The first thing to note is that disaster has kind of struck in the last few weeks. There's a small patch on the inner screen where basically there's a little black patch. I can't tell if it's dead pixels or something else. I have reached out to Honor, but at the time of recording this video, we haven't had anything back from them. So that's not great. That is not great. I will admit that is actually quite bad. However, there's a lot more that I have learned, and I want to talk you through why I think foldable phones are a really good investment. For starters, they're killer handsets. They really are. The internal display, the size of it is like nothing you'll have ever known on a phone, and you can get so much done with that bigger screen. I find it so much easier to work on spreadsheets and to read articles in the format they're really meant for. It's a really nice user experience. Also means you get a much bigger display when you're watching content, videos, and Netflix and stuff. Not always at the greatest aspect ratio, I grant you, but it is really, really useful for that sort of thing. They are also not as big as anyone will have you believe. Now, this doesn't necessarily apply to all models. We are talking about the Magic V3, which I believe is still the second thinnest foldable phone in the world right now. But it is the same size as pretty much most phones, like give or take a mil or two. Using it as a slab phone, you'll notice next to no difference in the size. It's pretty much identical. In terms of hardware, I think it's mostly there. You're talking about similar internal processors. You do have to sacrifice a little bit in terms of cameras usually, and a little bit of battery capacity. I will say that the battery on this one does last a full day, but it's tight. It's not as, there's not the wiggle room that you'd expect from a slab phone. But of course you are losing quite a lot of the battery capacity for things like the hinge, so that's a trade-off you'd come to expect. The other thing I do want to say though is the plastic screens and some of the sort of built-in screen protectors, they're also a little bit of a bug point for me. It's not bad, but they are just more susceptible to scratching. I wear rings on my hand and I've scratched screens before just popping my hand in to grab the phone out of my pocket. So that's just something to be aware of. It does just take a little bit more carefulness when you're handling it. But you know, it's a £1,500 device, so you probably want to be quite careful with it anyway. The other learning that I do just want to make a really big point of here, and we've talked about this before, issues with the crease are complete idiocy. Particularly on a book style foldable, you will never touch it, you will never see it. It only concerns people who are around you because they're looking at it on an angle and that's where you can see it. So if you have any qualms about that, quash them right now. I guess the real question now then is, would I have another one? Yeah, absolutely. I love this tech. I think it is the future of what this format is going to be, is foldable devices. We're seeing trifolds come out now. We've seen the one from Huawei. There's strong rumours that Samsung has a trifold coming this year. And I think that maybe those are going to see a bit more progression in terms of that, because I think the larger display format, something more like a tablet, is probably going to be useful. However, I absolutely think that this is a great buy. You just have to make a few little concessions and be a little bit careful with the way you use it, but the rewards definitely pay off.